So I don't know about y'all, but I am well tired of the UFC and how they've handled this UFC 300 main event. They have done a horrific job of giving us some insight to what this main event can be. We have been led astray by Dana White for far too long, and I am done putting up with it. Here's my issue with Dana White in the UFC. We have had so many fake announcements, we have had so many leaks on Twitter, and it's all led to nothing. We have been blue-balled out of oblivion. We have been led on worse than I can't even give you a description of how bad we've been led on. I'm tired of being in the dark. I'm tired of finally getting my hopes up, all for nothing to come out of it. I don't care what Nina Drama has to say on Twitter, because every single time we get a glimpse of hope that we're going to get an announcement for the UFC 300 main event, it doesn't happen. It doesn't come through. And I think we as a community should band together and put some pressure on the UFC, on Dana White, to finally get this fight announced, because we have waited, I believe, I don't know like how many months. The whole card is pretty much put together. I think you can probably add 2 more fights maximum. The only thing we don't have right now is the main event. And this should be the best card of the year by far. It's looking really good right now. We just need that cherry on top. We need that final fight to finally solidify this card as an absolute banger. And we've had so many fighters be leaked. We've had so many different fighters call out for 300. And at this point, I'm done with it. I'm through with it. I just want to have a fight be announced for it. And we need to put pressure again on Dana White in the UFC to finally get this done, because I'm tired of waiting, and I'm convinced. At this point, I am truly convinced that they don't know what they're doing, and they're scrambling, and they're lost. We are, what, 65 days away from UFC 300? That's a little bit over 2 months, right? Most training camps are 8 weeks long, which is 2 months. Now, obviously, there's some change left over there, but most fighters have an 8-week training camp for their fight. So there really isn't much time left for the UFC to find a fight that won't be on short notice for some fighters. The last thing that I want right now is to get into March and there's still no main event scheduled for UFC 300. We can't have this. This is bad business. And honestly, I wouldn't even be that upset if Dana White and Nina Drama weren't milking it on Twitter, if they weren't using our feelings and emotions as a ploy to make some moolah on Twitter. It's all about engagements for them. Now, apparently, they're going to announce it on the Super Bowl. I don't care. I don't care. You're going to pay $7 million to announce the UFC 300 main event, but you're not going to announce it on Twitter. It costs no money to announce it on your UFC homepage, but you're willing to pay like what, $7 million? I mean, a lot of money to announce it on the Super Bowl as a commercial, or people will probably skip that. Listen, the days of Super Bowl commercials being entertaining have kind of been left in the past. Nobody really watches the Super Bowl to watch the commercials anymore besides some old heads. But nowadays, nobody really cares about the commercials for the Super Bowl. We all just want to watch the game. And I'll be damned if the UFC is willing to use us and use our emotions and use our hype for UFC 300 and then take that and spin it and use it as a commercial to fund their commercial for the Super Bowl to announce their main event. I'll be damned and I'll be pissed. You made us wait week after week after week. Dana White said he was going live at least 10 different times to announce a fight for UFC 300, and it never was the main event that we were all expecting. And you're telling me you're willing to just make us wait to put it on the Super Bowl? At this point, you've got to be kidding me, man. Like, it's done. It's a wrap, man. Let's wrap it up. Let's get this announced. We don't care what platform we get it on, as long as we get a main event for 300. Now, let's be honest here. If Dana White actually sticks to his word, because he said that this announcement for 300 is going to be the biggest news ever in UFC history. Don't quote me on that. That was not word for word what Dana said, but he has been hyping up this announcement for a very long time. He has made it pretty clear that this is going to be a crazy fight for the main event of 300. If he actually sticks to his word, then you know what? Everything's all fine and dandy. If we get the craziest fight we've ever seen pop up out of nowhere, I'm not going to be so angry that I'm going to come on here and rant like I am right now. But with every single passing day, my expectations get higher and higher and higher. But now for some reason, they're getting lower, because now I'm realizing the UFC just doesn't know what they're doing. They're just kind of saying shit at this point just to say shit. And they're trying to keep the hype around this main event still alive. But at this point, the cracks are showing. I'm seeing everything. You guys don't know what you're doing. And you're just saying you do, trying to keep us led on, trying to keep us entertained. But in all reality, you're just trying to figure out what this main event actually is. Because if this was supposed to be the biggest fight ever in UFC history, if this was supposed to be an absolute eye-popping, how could they do this kind of fight, then you probably would have announced it already, but you haven't because you don't have any plans for it, and you're making calls every day, hours upon hours a day, trying to get some certain fighters to sign a contract that they're not signing because you don't have the money for it, or you're not willing to give them this much money from the main event. And at this point, I'm just convinced that the UFC is going to end up settling for a less than stellar fight. We're going to get like a boring women's main event at this point because they don't have what they need to actually give out a great fight. You played me for a fool. You played me like a fiddle, but guess what? I'm not a fiddle anymore. I know what's going on. I can see what's happening. You guys just simply don't know. And using this industry plant of Nina Drama as a way to milk us and try to lead us on to be excited for this main event is just absolutely despicable at this point, and I just can't take it anymore. You ruined a whole meme because of this. The whole Oil Up Dana meme was a nice little inside joke for the MMA fans, and now you guys have played into it. You're selling t-shirts. I'll say that again. You're selling t-shirts now with the Oil Up meme on it. Now you're just milking us. Now you're just trying to make it not fun anymore, and it's completely dumb and stupid. It's so lame to me now, the fact that they're doing this stuff and expecting us to still be on board with the main event for 300. I'm excited for 300. I can't wait for it, don't get me wrong. But at this point, man, you have to announce something soon because every single day, every single time that I'm on Twitter, I see
Dana White, breaking news. He's going to announce UFC 300 main event tomorrow on Instagram Live.
and the live never comes. It never shows up and we never see Dana White. He goes mute, man. He goes off the grid. He's gone. And I really almost just hate myself for going on Twitter every day. I want to get more involved in social media, so I decided to get myself into Twitter more often and try to dive into that space and just try to build my community outside of just normal YouTube videos. And when I go on Twitter every day, I dread the stupid Twitter post that I see of some random dude giving out some weird, super vague leak of a fight that may happen or may be the main event of UFC 300, but it really has nothing credible behind it. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to see Aspinall Pajeda be the main event at 300 because Aspinall has a flight booked. But in all reality, Aspinall just has that flight booked because he wants to be a spectator. He wants to watch the card because it's going to be a massive card. He might be going on holiday to Vegas, maybe get some training in with some fighters who are on the card. There's nothing that correlates between him and Alex Pajeda actually fighting for that, I guess, interim heavyweight belt at 300. And then, for God's sakes, we were supposed to have two new divisions in the UFC, the 165 division and the 175-pound division. But guess what? Conor McGregor is not even going to fight until the fall because Dana White just leaked that on a podcast. So we can just rule out Conor being on the card for the main event. So at this point, what is true? What is actually happening? And I have no clue. The UFC is going to really have to pull something out the bag here, out the fire, Leon Edwards style, for me to be hyped about this main event. If it's not something crazy, we should riot, and we need to put pressure on the UFC right now to announce this main event. I should only see people on Twitter, Instagram, even YouTube. I should only see people screaming at the rafters that Dana White needs to announce this main event tomorrow. I don't care what he needs to do to set it up. He needs to announce this at least this week or next week, or I am just going to be absolutely upset, crying in the shower all night long. I don't know. I need to calm down a little bit. This has been me just ranting in this video, me just going off on a tangent pretty much, but I felt this video was kind of needed because this is getting out of hand and I'm done. I'm simply just done. This is the most annoying thing the UFC has done in a long time. I have not been this annoyed in a very, very long time. Maybe, just maybe, the UFC might just prove me wrong, and I hope they do prove me wrong because I do want a banger main event for 300, but I don't see it happening, and I can just simply see them announcing some little ass trash fight that we didn't really expect, but it's not a really entertaining fight. We just might get Leon versus Bilal 2. At this point, that's probably where we're at. We're just going to get Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad, and they're going to call it a day. Now, is that fight a great fight? Yes, it is. But is it the UFC 300 main event that we want? No, not a shot in the world. We don't want that fight to be the main event. We want a huge super fight, possibly, maybe a huge return like a Khabib. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? I'm not even a Khabib fan, but that would be a great main event if we got Khabib on the card somehow. But it needs to be something good or something great for me to actually feel like this was worth the wait, because right now it's not been worth the wait. And I'm tired of Dana White and Nina Drama and whoever's on Twitter milking this out for views, for content, for money overall, and it just nothing's come from it. I don't know. That's just my rant for the day. Let me know how you feel in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications. I'm out of here, guys, but this shit pisses me off. I'm not going to lie to you. Peace.